Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Michelle Tonkin MD, author of Lyme and Co-Infections, The Road to Recovery. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Are you ready to get started?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. Question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Well, when I started out, basically I didn't really have anybody tell me what to do, and I kind of had to figure out things on my own. So what I developed for myself was a system of writing, and basically in the system is I kind of figure out a roadmap for myself. So when writing nonfiction books is what I mostly write. I started with chapters and headings and kind of went on from there. So for instance, if I know I was writing about a health topic, I kind of figure out kind of what I want to talk about, and then I put in the chapters for that, and then start with an outline so that I had a way to go. And then also for fiction, because I have a book on fiction as well I've written, for that, just having an idea of the characters, and of course like a synopsis of where you want this to go from helps, because I think people with writer's block is they don't exactly know where they're going, and so they're just trying to kind of go as I feel led, and sometimes it's not the best way to do it. You can always change direction if needed, but if you don't have like a roadmap in front of you, a lot of times you're going to get stuck and frustrated. So I found it really helps me a lot is to have an idea of where I'm going.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Well, I basically do self-publishing, and that's not very difficult. There's a lot of availability of different publishers out there, but getting picked up by the major players can be hard. And I think what you have to do there is really be honest with yourself and say, is this content, first of all, going to add value to the consumer? And is it something that you personally would read? And also, is your audience going to be drawn to it? So you want something that is going to be marketable to the audience that you're reaching. And also, people are very visual. So is your cover and your title is going to be something that's going to appeal to them and going to pop up off the shelf to them and say, okay, I'm drawn to this and want to read it. So getting out there and knowing who your marketing, your people are, your group that you're going after is very important.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launches that has worked well.
Basically, you have to think outside the box. A lot of people are doing, of course, their online presence like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Another thing to think about is to go to local bookstores. I've done local book readings and signings and things like that. And a lot of times the local bookstores will pick you up and they'll support you and they'll help you get out there. And just to start with that local presence first and then build up. And there's also local radio shows as well. I've done that too. The other thing is to think about, it depends on, like I said, your niche. If you're after the health industry or you're after your fan fiction or whatever genre you're trying to do, find something that's going to support what you're doing. Whether it's like a health conference, like I just got back from a health conference speaking engagement. So, I'll do speaking engagements and then sell my book afterwards. And that could, work for someone like me, but someone who's doing like a fan fiction, They could do a local bookstore, or maybe be part of like the Comic-Con stuff that's going on. You just kind of have to find out what's going to work for you to get yourself out there.
Well, in regards to doing book sign-ins at local bookstores, so we've had some guests on the show previously talk about that. Some of it's been a little bit hit or miss. So what are some of the strategies that you would give to our audience on how to build those connections and, most importantly, be able to have the opportunity to do those book sign-ins at those local bookstores?
So building connection with the bookstore, I mean, go in there, talk to the owners, get connected. And then, if you do end up going and doing a signing, make sure you have information to give people, your website, information about the book you're promoting. A lot of people are going to remember, they probably won't remember you personally unless you make some kind of an effort to kind of make yourself memorable. And be approachable with people, you have to go, you can't just sit there in a book sign. You have to really approach people and kind of get them interested into what you're doing. And that would be my take on the whole book signing thing. And like you said, it is hit or miss, but I think the more you do it and the more different bookstores you get into locally, you'll have a better chance of getting yourself out there that way as well. And the major players are going to be looking for book sales and how you're doing representing yourself. So, and they would tell you anyways, that basically just to start getting yourself out there, grassroots type thing.
And what would be some of those pieces of advice that you would give to be able to build connections? So just going into the stores, introducing yourself, bringing a gift. What are some of the strategies that you use to be able to build those relationships?
To get into the local bookstore, to have
Yes.
them take you on.
Yeah.
Just it was very easy for me. I mean, I just basically, they were already doing, a lot of bookstores actually already supporting local authors, and they want book signings because it brings people in. So it's a mutual beneficial arrangement for them. They draw customers in, and then you also get a chance to have people come to you that you normally wouldn't be seeing your book or anything. So I just come in there and say, hey, I'm a local author, and this is my book, and here's my website. I'd love to do a book signing, something that you guys do, and have information. And a lot of times, too, these bookstores will do a consignment-based thing where they will give you a percentage of the books that you sell. So, for instance, if you pay sell for $19.95, they'll probably, take $5 of that for their consignment fee or something, and then you'll get the remaining of the sale. So that's kind of what they do too, is they'll do consignment on a consignment base. But a lot of bookstores locally are very open to that because, like I said, they're looking to draw people in as well. And whenever you have an event that draws people to a bookstore, that really helps them too. So it's a win-win situation.
Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know, what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
So I honestly don't have a favorite book. I mean, I like to read a lot of different types of books, archaeology, science, health books, brainy stuff, funny stuff. I also write children's books, so, but I really think the main thing that I've learned from books is that there's always something to be learned and always a different perspective that can be gained from whatever you're reading. And it really is about what you're learning. It helps yourself, but also you can help other people too and be a blessing to other people. And that's one thing that I've learned with all the learning I've done is being able to utilize what I've learned to help other people.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is actually from the Bible. It's I've come that they may have life and life more abundantly, John 10:10. And my personal, mission in this life is help other people walk in freedom and wholeness. And that's why I believe God's put me here, and that we all have a purpose and a destiny. So that's, we all have a purpose. And if you're a writer, you have something to say that God's put in your heart to reach people with. So don't be afraid to get out there and write and be a blessing, because you never know whose life you might change.
Michelle, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
We have a website. I have many websites, actually, but the website for the Lyme book is www.healthysolutionsforall.com. And check me out on there. There's books and supplements, consultations, and I'm open to speaking engagements as well. So if that's something that you'd like me to possibly do a speaking engagement or know people, just let me know.
Well, Michelle, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.